Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a long time since I've been on YouTube. Working on a 427 LS I'm putting together, distributor drive, bracket engine, LSR, aluminum, LSR, the LS Concepts aluminum block. Hydraulic roller combo. This one's 16.9 to 1. Got a custom Ross piston in it. Callie's crank, Callie's rods in it. It's a small journal rod, 4-inch stroke, 4 1/8 bore, 427 inches. I'd like to see 815 horsepower out of this thing on the dyno. We'll see. I've already crested 800 with one of the other LS3 427s, but I'd like to make like 810, 815. I think the cylinder head from AFR is a little better in the mid-range, at least that's what the flow bench shows. And it's on a 12-degree valve angle, and I think the might not need quite as much timing, and the chamber's fully CNC ported, even though I do hand finish my LS3 heads. But therefore, being hand finished, they're probably not all perfect or exactly the same. It's kind of hard to do with the casting, core shift. So anyways, this engine, there again, here, hopefully in a couple days, we'll get it on the dyno and see what she makes. But I want to show a couple of tricks of what I did. Like I say, this is nothing crazy. It's something you guys could do yourself. The piston's probably the biggest deal in getting the valve pockets where they need to be. And this also has the valve pocket is cut for 2/300, so it'll fit a 2/200 valve. So basically got 50 thousandths of radial oil clearance on the valve, which not a lot of people talk about, but it's super important because you really don't want the eyebrow to catch the side of the valve, because that's instant destruction. Real easy to break the valve, especially with the 8mm stems. Anyways, GM distributor drive. We are going to run the distributor. I might try a crank trigger on the dyno. And I do have to modify this because the keyway, I actually need to move this up. That's why I don't have the heads on it right now. But I've got to get that lined up so we can actually check timing, which I kind of recommend on all of them to put a pointer on. Anyways, nothing super crazy. Got some compression, but I like compression. So anyways, let me get on to the cylinder heads real quick. I won't keep this video too terribly long. But what I did is I have a set of LS3 AFR mongoose heads. These are and I didn't do any work besides mill the heads. I did mill them 30. But as you can see, I got two different valve lengths, and the reason is I got a titanium intake, which requires a lash cap, and it's got the LS7 exhaust valve. But I'll show you guys what I did to fit them in here. And it does have a PSI 1516 part numbered max life spring on it on both intake and exhaust. I do have a little less installed height on the intake and a little more on the exhaust, just kind of how it ended up with everybody, but that's okay. I don't feel they need as much exhaust spring pressure as the intake on any good racing engine. Like say hydraulic roller, 645 lift on the intake and about a little over 620 on the exhaust. So nothing too crazy. And honestly, this has got a Summit oil pan on it, and I actually like this pan. It works pretty good. The pickup tube clears the windage tray with no problems. It's got the screw-on adapter. I do like Wix filters, only because I've had a Fram a long time ago on a dragster plug one up, and yeah, that was a long story. Yeah, I'll cover that one day. Anyways, pretty nice setup. And the other thing too, for you guys asking, the reason I like this also with this oil pan is you do have a little bit of room right here. So for a fella that might have a rear motor plate, well, guess what? You can get an engine diaper on it. So this little deal is going to go in a little bracket car. So it makes it a little bit easier. But nice setup here. Anyways, let me cover the cylinder heads. Let me get back to that. I kind of got off tangent there. These are the AFR LS3 mongoose heads, CNC ported from AFR. They do have some really good mid lift and good numbers to like 650 lift, and then at least on the flow bench that I use, they roll over right after that. There again, we got 650 lift cam or just under, so I think everything will be good. But here's what I did do. I did use LS7 valves in this. You're going to say, Dustin, how do you do that? Well, here's the little trick I did. Nothing too crazy. But the exhaust valve, these are both factory valves, and the reason I have these in here is that AFR, to get their valve pocket so it's a little stiffer, went with a longer valve. Well, as a lot of people know right now, getting titanium valves are a real son of a gun, and this was my next best option. So the valves from Del West come coated so that they'll work with the regular, steel or, cast iron style seat. So if you trim them down, well, you ruin the coating on them, and then you got a valve that's going to wear itself out or eat the seat up, or basically eat the face of the valve. So what I did is, at the local machine shop, they've got a crank grinder, and I call it. I had them turn the exhaust valve down from inch 610 to inch 580. Therefore, allowed me enough room in between the intake and exhaust valves. We got enough clearance here that they won't touch or rub. They're pretty close though, but they got enough, about 25 thousandths with this guide spacing on these cylinder heads. Now, the only caveat to this, and the thing I don't know, and I didn't flow these with this valve, but I'm a little suspect that we might have shrouded the side of the chamber here. And this, I think, is a super important area on the NA stuff like that. It gets in trouble. And we'll see what it shows on the dyno. Like I said, I've got a goal about 810, 815 horsepower is my goal, which I'm hoping here in a few days we'll do that. This, once again, this will be carbureted on Q16. I'll have an oxygenated fuel in it. I back-to-back it just recently on a non-oxygenated to oxygenated with on an LS, and it was about 11 horsepower. So not a super big gain, but it is worth a little bit of something. I do feel that for the bracket guys, the Q16 works pretty good because it doesn't swing as much, especially with the smaller cubic inch engines. So anyways, turn the exhaust valve down to inch 580 from inch 610, and we'll see what she does. I did have to hand finish, because when we ground the valves down, or the gentleman at the machine shop ground the valves on the outside, I don't have a good way to do that and keep the valves steady. There again, he puts it in the crank grinder with the collet, and it's got a huge grinding wheel if you've ever seen a crank grinder, and therefore keeps it very steady and keeps it from chattering, because that's the biggest issue, especially with a small valve stem. So we're able to do that, and then I just hand finished them, so they've got a nice radius and not a square edge. Obviously no hot spots, and just I think they'll probably flow a little more air like that. So anyways, guys, that's what we're up to. Back again, this thing's a 4-inch stroke with a 4 1/8 bore, and it's got an AFR LS3 head. I'm going to run a Super Victor on it with a Dominator. Should be a good little bracket piece, and here in a few days we'll have this on the dyno. We'll get a vacuum pump and a few other little things. So, all right, keep you guys posted, and on to the next section of the video. What's up, everybody? I'm gonna try to film this, include in the YouTube video, but got to run the dyno myself as usual here over at Good Performance. So, anyways, had an issue with the coolant temp sensor. Not sure what's going on, but this is a 427 with some AFR heads, a bunch of compression, hydraulic roller cam. Obviously, kind of following up on earlier in the video here, but let you take a listen. Alright guys, got carried away here. Have been videoing, so make one more pull. I'm almost out of fuel. See if we can get this thing just a touch better. It's running pretty good, over 800 horsepower, 811 on the last pull to be exact. I ran one other carburetor, made 814. So I cooled the water off just a little bit and got the fans, waiting for the fans to fire up. And we'll get started on the pull here in just a sec. Alright guys, that's what we ended up making, 813 at peak. I don't know if the 653 is actual good realistic number there, because that's where it's telling it to go. And as you can see, this is the one thing I've been fighting on these aftermarket blocks a little bit. As you can see, the oil pressure is rolling back, but it's, you know, the vacuum's building. I think forward motion in the car will solve this problem. I could tip the front of the engine up to probably resolve this. But not too bad. 7500. This is a 4-inch stroke engine. 808 at 75. I'm not so sure right now. It might not want another half a degree or degree of timing in it. This is on Q16. Pretty sure I could get away with it, but I'm pretty happy with this engine. It's got an AFR head. Did a couple of tricks on the cylinder head with titanium valve and a lightweight exhaust, and turn the exhaust valve down so we can kind of make everything fit. Seems like it's a pretty happy camper. So. Alright guys, thanks for watching.